It seems that today we may have some leaked rules that suggest some major shake-ups to the way that 40k is played. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we've got a rather interesting little leak, and one that looks like it's going to be changing the way that Warhammer 40k is played in general. The leaks regarding the next chapter approved 2022, and a few of the changes that we can expect to see in the missions there, apparently going to be showcased in a tournament for Games Workshop over the weekend. If it's accurate, then I'm sure we'll hear more from Warhammer community within the next 24 hours, so perhaps it isn't the furthest glimpse into the future. The leak was posted to a very reputable Warhammer content creator. It seems accidentally released early, and then taken down quite quickly after that, but not before the internet got their hands on it and circulated it via the competitive pages on things like Reddit and Facebook and much else. As they've taken it down, I can imagine they don't really want all that much attention drawn to it, so I won't name them here unless they ask me to, and I'll post a link down in the comments below. In any case, the way that it's worded does make me believe that it's genuine. A lot of people do get a fair bit of insight into Games Workshop's rule releases on the down low, people who have good connections to their playtesters, for example. So let's get on to the actual content of the rules changes themselves then. We know that Chapter Approved 2022 is going to be coming very early in the year from Games Workshop themselves, and there weren't any mission changes in the last one. They just updated points costs and a few secondaries, but largely left 9th edition to stay how it is in the core rules, and to be honest I think that the core rules are doing quite a good job. Relative army balance is a completely different thing, but for the core rules I do feel that 9th is a lot more intelligent than 8th edition, a lot more about thinking about objectives and trading units, as opposed to just gunning your opponent off the table with the biggest power combos. According to the leak, the rules are going to be showcased at Games Workshop's in-house tournament this weekend over in Texas. I'm sure they'll be live streaming it, and they've asked a whole bunch of selected players to turn up with some interesting lists, perhaps to showcase the new version of 9th edition and get people pumped for the release of the new book. It seems that the new mission pack will have some big changes to objectives, perhaps the headline change being that there's going to be different changes to primary objectives in this Grand Tournament 2022 book, with the primary objectives scoring 4, 8 and 12 for scoring the actual mission, instead of scoring 5, 10 and 15 as they do now. That's just going to tone down the importance of holding the objectives just a little bit, up the importance of secondaries, and it seems that the new thing with each mission is that there's going to be the extra 3 points each round, made up from an interesting primary objective that's going to be mission specific. Obviously we don't know all of these yet, but apparently one of the missions will be killing 3 units per battle round, and one will be taking one specific objective that the opponent chooses, kind of designating it as a high priority target, and perhaps reading between the lines a little bit there, and it could work a bit different to that, but that does seem to be what's implied. Obviously when we do know more, I'll cover it in full on the channel. Basically this bit seems to be to replace mission unique secondary objectives, which are gone entirely. They're the ones that you could use to sub out the ones from your codex or the main rulebook, and to be honest I don't really think that they were very good at differentiating the missions or making them feel unique. Finally, as to be expected, some of the secondary objectives are further tweaked or updated. As with last time, I'm sure plenty of the ones that will be the most common picks will be toned down, and ones that never saw the light of day will be getting a bit of a boost. Currently I think that most of the secondary objectives are in a fairly good state. There's certainly a fair few fairly useless ones still, but maybe less so than before, and a fair few of the auto-include ones have been reined in quite a lot. I'd say maybe just one thing that I'd really quite like to see might be the assassinate one getting tweaked, so big multi-model character units don't just allow your opponent to max that out really easily if they can get to them. It just seems to unnecessarily punish certain units such as Gaunt's Ghost or Chaplain Grimaldus and his servitors. So that's the bare bones of the leak at least, and I'm sure we'll hear more very, very shortly indeed. If it's all true, which I'm guessing it is, I think it could really shake up the way that 40k is played, and could be an interesting new challenge to build your list towards. I'm going to guess that the motivation for the change might be the criticism that I've seen a lot in 9th edition competitive missions. Compared with 8th edition, just quite a lot of them feel fairly similar, fighting for the same objectives, just in a slightly different layout, and rattling off similar secondaries that just might vary a little bit depending on the opponent or the objectives. I think this is always going to be a bit of a trade-off in 40k. Either you have the missions be really quite similar to each other, so that each time you fight an opponent, in general the matchup isn't going to be decided by which mission you're playing, which could certainly be a problem in previous editions in the game. For example, in earlier editions you didn't know whether you could just be playing objectives or kill points and nothing in between, and if, for example, if you just happen to have a bad matchup on the mission that you are playing, then your chances of winning might be utterly dashed, just by drawing the wrong opponent at the wrong time. For example, if you were playing pure kill points in 7th edition or early 8th, You might just have pretty much no chance at all if you happen to be fighting knights, and you had 5 times the amount of units they did. I feel that the unique primaries for these missions might just create an element of that. For example, that kill 3 units mission, that's going to be far easier to do if you're fighting an opponent with loads of units, compared with armies that naturally just want to build around a few big ones. Obviously, I'm sure people will build to the mission, and generally you're going to want to run an army that's got a chance in every game that you get to. But I think whenever it's the mission that you happen to draw that decides the outcome as opposed to the player's skill, I'd say that's perhaps a worse outcome. In general though, the armies that really just want to play around the primary objectives aren't going to find things quite as easy after this. Just with the numbers, if you can still only score a maximum of 15 victory points per primary per turn, then it means that you'd actually have to hold more objectives than your opponent literally every single turn of the game if you did want to max your primary without bothering with the actual mission. That's going to be really hard to do in any sort of game that's quite close, and it's going to make the other interactions on the table pretty important, and secondary choice even more so. As the creator of the leaks post pointed out as well, this could make missions where it's really easy to score the primary a bit more interesting. There's some missions where you have 2 objectives in your deployment zone, and you get 10 points if you manage to hold both. That means that you can casually farm out 40 points for virtually no effort whatsoever, and really force the opponent to come to you if they've got decent secondaries that they can achieve. Otherwise, as I mentioned, I'm really not too bothered about the unique mission secondaries disappearing. For me, these ones always tended to be a touch weird, often either objectives that are just complete auto-includes. Both sides could pick them and quite easily max them, or they just wouldn't be worth taking, and both players would ignore them. They didn't really do too much to differentiate the missions and make them feel different, so I'm kind of happy that they don't add to the decision paralysis that you already have with picking secondary objectives. There's plenty enough to choose from already, I think. In any case, I think it should be really good fun to have another shake-up. I do like it when Games Workshop rebalances their game a touch. It keeps things from getting stale, and helps reward people who innovate and try new ideas out, rather than just staying with the same strong thing that they've been playing all edition. In any case, I look forward to hearing your thoughts or opinions on this, both on the changes themselves and what we might see over the weekend with Games Workshop's new event. Let me know, as always, down in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more like it, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the regular 40k stuff coming and cover this properly once we actually have the full info. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel and you'd like to help keep them coming, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and that's found down in the video description below. The Patreon is what allows me to keep on making videos like this at all hours of the day, so if you are enjoying quite a bit, then any support is enormously appreciated. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some really big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, then the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.